been here for 132 years. And the basis of higher education has kind of remained the same. Around it has changed dramatically. And it's one of the reasons that I'm in this business is because I know how important it is to our future as a state, to our future as communities. I mean, picture, in this instance, picture Natchitoches without Northwestern State, or picture Ruston without Louisiana Tech. And you can go on and on about these communities, but you think about regional economies and how employers are going to compete without talent. And then you look at the way that technology is changing everything around. Does anyone have a cell phone? Everybody does. This is the week that the iPhone turns 10 years old. Right? So it hasn't been around that long. And the way that technology is transforming everything we do in life, it's going to demand a more highly educated workforce than ever before. And the great thing about the state of Louisiana is we have so much potential to improve. It's a very optimistic way to describe our current situation. And so that's the work of our institution. We serve 90,000 students across the state. And in a lot of ways, we are the solution to a challenge that faces for growth and for quality of life. So I look forward to visiting with you.
Hey there, guys. My name is Michael Mahaffey. I appreciate you guys allowing us in parish. So we have Ruston, Farmville is where we have our courthouses. As an assistant district attorney, what I do is prosecute misdemeanor as well as felony offenses. And hopefully won't see any of you guys anytime soon in any of my offices in Lincoln or Union. But what we do in the community is we work with law enforcement. Law enforcement will bring us an arrest report. We review it. We review the facts to see if it's something that we can build, that we can take to court, that we can prove. We also, I work with juveniles as well, and so that's definitely a way to attempt to affect the community as in education-wise. We deal with truancy and issues like that, and try to get to these kids, not just put them somewhere in a detention center or things like that, but try to really work with them and let them see that crime's not the way to go, and that, you know, education and a purpose is what they really need to try and focus on in that, and dealing with the kids and also dealing with the parents. You have a lot of these parents that are single parents, whether they're male or female. So there's a lot of difficult situations trying to make sure these kids realize they need an education, they need to take part in their community. I really applaud you guys for what you're doing and the leadership role that you're taking, and look forward to hanging out with you guys.
I'm Ronnie Walker, Mayor of Ruston. Rookie in the room, probably. I've only been mayor 2.5 years, so I'm in my first term. This is a very special event for me today because 48 years ago, I was sitting in a college much like this, Hines Junior College, just outside of Jackson at Bowie State. I came from super small high school out in the country, and I was the first student to go to Bowie State. And I went not having a clue what was going to happen and what it was about. But I left with a better understanding of leadership and government and how government works. And it's been something that's helped me throughout my career. And I appreciate so much the American Legion having these kind of camps throughout the nation. This is super, and we appreciate it so very much. Very special for me. My life took a little different turn. I didn't go into politics. But leadership was so very important in everything I did. Two things, many of you might know where Ruston is. Ruston is between Monroe and Shreveport on I-20 in North Louisiana, home to Louisiana Tech University, but also only 4 miles away, Grambling State University. So we're really like a two-college town. The question was asked, why did I get into government? 7 years ago, I decided to run for police jury. I won, and then 3 years later, I decided to run for mayor. The reason I wanted to run for mayor was we had a great city, but I felt like we were a city that had always just been a city that got lucky and had a good college in its town. And I felt like we needed to be more of a college town. We needed to change the philosophy of the entire town. I felt like we had to be more business friendly and diversify our economics. I mean, Louisiana Tech, by all means, is the biggest economic driver we have in our city, but we had to do other things. So those were the two reasons that I really got into running for the mayor. I'm enjoying it. The predecessor to my job said it's going to be the best job you've ever had, and it's so true. So I thank you for this opportunity, and let that one little thing. When I was in Boise State 48 years ago, the position that I was elected to was mayor. So 45 years later, I'm fulfilling that circle, I guess. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Raymond Allen. I'm the parish president of the parish of Natchitoches, the only home rule charter parish in north and central Louisiana. You may not know what that is, but it's basically a parish government that has it's similar to the state and federal government, which have a chief executive elected by the people. You also have a legislature, which is our council, which is a policy making and budget approving authority. The police juries, which most of you may be familiar with, are a committee type of government, in which all executive and legislative authorities is vested in one body. Works very well in some areas. I think the structure didn't work well for Natchitoches, and that's why in 2012 it was changed. As parish president, I have a lot of responsibilities. Very few things happen in the parish that isn't impacted in some way by parish government. Excuse me. Prior to getting into politics, I owned and operated, and still do on the side, a consulting engineering firm. And at the age of 58, after having designed water systems and sewer systems and power plants and things of that nature, I decided that there was another way I could serve, and I wanted to have some influence on the direction my community and my state would be taking in the future. And so I became a member of the state legislature. When I left the legislature, that was the time that the parish was changing government, and I decided to run for parish president, was elected in 2012 to a partial term, and was reelected in 2015 to a 4-year term. I saw this as an opportunity to enhance the parish, to do something constructive for the parish, using my technical and professional abilities and what I thought was my business abilities and my experience in the legislature, which was invaluable, to really move the parish forward. And we had been stagnant, not only in population growth, but in economic growth for many, many years. And as Dr. Henderson said about education, about the opportunities for improvement in education, there were just so many more in this parish. It's an honor to serve the people of Natchitoches Parish. It's an honor to be with you here today. I did not get the opportunity as a student many years ago at my small rural school in Louisiana. I had a few years ago the opportunity to address Girls State. I was very happy to be there. I told them when I was a student in high school I had applied to Girls State but was rejected. so this will have to do for you guys. I did get some bad news this morning. I did learn that my grandson, Bo Crenshaw, was elected as a representative. I really thought Bo was smarter than that, but no, I'm proud of him. But it is a pleasure to be here with you, and I look forward to the rest of the program. Thank you.
Good morning, fellas. My name is Brian McNabb. I work for United States Senator Bill Cassidy here in the state of Louisiana. And Dr. Cassidy couldn't be here today. Some of you may or may not know. There's a little issue going on in Washington with healthcare. So he couldn't be here. Sends his best and wants to come back at some point in the future to address this distinguished body. But in the meantime, you've got me. I'm sorry for that. But anyway, I want to spend a moment just kind of encouraging you. I kind of laugh. I think back to the summer between my junior and senior year of high school, and I'll just say I wasn't at Boise State. I was goofing off, probably doing something stupid, but you're to be commended for your vision to want to lead. for your vision to want to serve. You're young, and you represent a very small population of your student bodies. And so congratulations on that drive to want to give back to your community, state, and nation. I know you may all kind of think, oh, I've got an idea that I want to serve, but I'm not quite sure where I want to serve, what I want to do. Some of you may have an interest in running for elected office and holding political office. My suggestion to you is do it. When I was 27 years old, I moved home. I was working in the Bush administration in Washington, D.C. I moved home, back home to Louisiana. There was an open House seat in South Baton Rouge, and I ran for it. You know, I was some punk kid, 27 years old, but I knocked on 10,000 doors, got to meet a lot of great people, spend time with family and friends, going canvassing neighborhoods. It was just a great time. Now, my campaign was unlike the campaign of my friend Mike Walsworth sitting here, and that he actually won. I lost about 47 votes, but that's okay. You know, as the old saying goes, the Lord closes one door and opens an even bigger one. I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Cassidy during that campaign. He was then a state senator. We developed a friendship, and then a year later, he decided to run for Congress. And I've been working for Dr. Cassidy ever since, both in the U.S. House of Representatives and now as our senior senator here in Louisiana. I think everybody kind of, I know they want us to be brief. So, and I'll get kind of a little more technical when we do our breakouts in a little bit, but I kind of just want to give a brief overview of a Senate office. Everybody kind of has a sense of, you know, everybody knows Dr. Cassidy goes to Washington, is one of two that represents Louisiana and Washington, represents our views and values and fights for things that our state needs. And so people understand the legislative side of it, but a lot of folks don't realize that members of Congress and members of the Senate have state offices. In fact, this is Dr. Cassidy and 14 staff. And I don't want to embarrass her, but I want to point out Stephanie McKenzie in the back. In fact, I think she's the only female in the room. So she'll be there. Stephanie runs Dr. Cassidy's Northwest Louisiana operation. So she runs one of the 7 offices and is one of our 14 staff here in the state. So what do we do here in the state? 2 things. Number one, we're Dr. Cassidy's ambassadors. We come to groups like this and explain to folks what he's doing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's the reauthorization of the flood insurance bill, or whether it's fighting for funding for the Go Mesa to send money from Washington back home here to Louisiana. We educate folks on what Dr. Cassidy is doing in Washington. The second thing that we do, amongst many other things, and I'll get into the kind of the technicalities of it when we break out later, but we're the kids' eyes and ears on the ground. We have a parish president, we have a mayor, we have a state representative. They may have a constituent who has an issue with the federal government. We have nowhere to turn. They'll call our office. We'll do some research on it, kick it up to Dr. Cassidy. Dr. Cassidy will work to try to find a resolution, to try to help our mutual constituent and try to help solve their problem. So anyway, I'll kind of get the weeds a little more on our operations in just a little bit. But again, truly honored and privileged to be here with y'all, and congratulations for taking the plunge to want to be a leader, and look forward to talking to y'all in a little bit.
I want to make sure that the Baptists in the back of the room can see me back there, my fellow Baptists. You know, that's where we're good Baptists. We always go to the back, go to the front. We don't really want the preacher to see us snoozing or anything. But I couldn't see you back there, so I thought I'd stand. You saved the worst for the last. So anyway, a state senator, and I've been in the legislature now for 22 years. Yes, 22 years. Probably the old man on this podium, but anyway, I'll just be brief on mine so we can get to your questions and all like that. I got into politics basically because my dad sort of got me there, and he ran for police jury one time, got beat by I think about 8 votes, and never ran again. But he was on the Democratic State Central Committee and all like that, and so anyway, I got sort of my lifelong Republican is where I'm at, and I'm fixing to term out, and I'm going to leave the legislature because I believe in term limits, because I think it gives the opportunity for other people to have the opportunity to be in the government. So I'm hoping that you'll take that opportunity to do that after you make your first or second meeting, because you won't make it in the legislature. But my whole thing in running for the legislature was on two things. One, I didn't sort of like the way our local state representative was voting, and then second of all, just about all of my friends, their kids were leaving the state to go somewhere else. And I've got one daughter, and I've got she's now 30 or so, and I knew this, if she left, I was going to leave right with her, because I mean, she's a daddy's girl and I'm a girl's dad. So either we were going to stay here in Louisiana or go somewhere else. I represent probably the best high school football in the country. I go from Oak Grove all the way to Haynesville, and that's at the Arkansas border, and it has some pretty good West Monroe, Neville, Ouachita. I got them all up there. Union Parish, I've got a lot of good football up there in my district. So we have a busy Friday night. We don't worry about Saturday or Sunday, but Friday nights are our time deal. So anyway, I wanted to make sure that my daughter had good jobs, that she could make sure that she stayed in West Monroe, and that way I could stay in there with her. And that's why sort of a selfish thing. Unlike my friends whose kids were going somewhere else. And I think that's what we know about TOPS, is trying to keep our best and brightest in Louisiana. I do know this, it's a fact. If you go to college somewhere else out of state, you don't come back. 85% of those who go to college somewhere else never come back to Louisiana, because you start your life and all the other things that you do once you get into that other town. So our best and brightest we need to keep here in Louisiana. And again, I know this for a fact. I got my best and brightest right here in this room. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, so as I said, having been introduced, having let the speakers introduce themselves, we've got a few questions for them kind of on the subject of leadership, on involvement for young people, things like that. So the first question I'm going to pose to the panel, I'm just going to allow them to kind of pick and choose for themselves if they want to answer. Is first of all, one of the things we do here at Louisiana Boys State is teach about leadership. We're not just a government education program, we're a leadership development program. And as part of that, based on your experience and based on your role in public service, what do you think that it takes to be an effective leader in public service?
I'll take a shot at that. One of the things that you can do to distinguish yourself from others is actually be informed. All right? Charisma and personality can carry you a long way, but an understanding of the issues, it will carry you that much farther. It's what really lets you separate yourself. Now, how do you do that? We have to seek out the truth in everything you do. And sometimes the truth can be a little bit hard to take. We have this thing that we deal with quite often. It's called confirmation bias. We tend to think things are true because we already believe them. It is very difficult to find something that conflicts with what you have always thought and believed to be true. I remember being many years ago at I guess I could tell the group because I'm not in politics, but it was called the Young Americans for Freedom. It was a group that was formed because we thought the college Republicans were too liberal, right? And so we formed this group. We were in Washington, D.C., and this guy is speaking to us, and we're all throwing red meat at us. And he says, but listen, it's not enough to read the Washington Times. You have to read the Washington Post as well. Those were called newspapers. Newspapers were these things that used to print. They were on paper. And so now, in this new information age, there is so much material that's out there. And the way that these analytics work, you're constantly inundated with information that you're going to click on. There's all of these big data machines out there throwing things at you that you're going to read, you're going to love, and because it's going to confirm what you already believe. You're going to have to be the first generation that digs beneath all of the things that are thrown at you. It's not just in the peripheral media, it's big media. I used to drive from Natchitoches to Baton Rouge every day. I'd listen to an hour of CNN, an hour of MSNBC, an hour of Fox News. And I still didn't know what the actual truth was, right? Reporting on the same things are all different. So as you're getting inundated with information, if you want to be an effective leader, you've got to be willing to go the extra mile, go down below the surface, and educate yourself on the issues of the day.
I think just to piggyback off of that a little bit is if you do go against the grain, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You dig deep, you find out what the truth is, you find out a lot of leaders, they have, I don't want to say enemies, but people that don't like them or don't support them because they go against the grain. I think that's a big part of leadership, is you have to discover and actually research a topic, something that you're trying to find out about, something that you want to lead, something that you want to talk about, and then stick to your guns. Don't just let people tell you, well, you know, 5 or 10 people tell you, well, yeah, that's not the way we're going to go. We're going to do something else. Fight and be a leader. I think that's what a leader really does. He doesn't listen to the naysayers. He or she, you know, goes forward.
I like your good understanding of. As far as being a mayor, I think the key for me is I got to care about everyone. When I ran, I said I was going to be a mayor for all the people. I think you got to really care about from the lowest to the highest, north, south, east, west, in your city and everything else. But I think the key to being a leader is being passionate about what you're fighting for. No matter if it's in the state legislature, if it's in fighting for the universities or the parish or the city of 24,000 people in North Louisiana, you got to be passionate about what you're doing.
That was number 1 on my list, so I checked it off. If you're not passionate about what you're doing, you need to not do it. There's no halfway in leadership. There's no halfway in marriage. You got to be all in or don't get in the water. Okay? You have to be able to determine where you are on the issues. 2 famous quotes: "Know thyself, and to thine own self be true." You have to be able to listen to other people, recognizing, as the doc said, that you're not always right. Anybody thinks they're always right, they're probably generally wrong. And I won't have anybody in my organization that agrees with me 100% of the time. I don't need that. That's not good for me. It's not good for the parish. You have to recognize that you may be a leader, but you don't go anywhere without your team. You have to have a good team, and you have to recognize their accomplishments. You have to understand you're going to have defeats from time to time. You learn from them. You don't let them get you down. It should strengthen your resolve to come back and do better. LSU got shellacked 13-1 by Oregon State, but did they go home? No, and they're not going home now either. So, you know, we have to understand. It's a learning process. I consider it they lost if I don't learn something. It's a learning process. So also recognize you can't be everything to everybody. That's why you have to be true to yourself. You seek input from everybody. You seek as much information as you can reasonably get before you make a decision. But at some point, as a leader, you have to make a decision and you go with it. You do the best you can.
Well, a couple things, and this is not just for public service. This is for life in general. I think a couple of the gentlemen, the mayor and the parish president, alluded to it. Don't chase money. Do what you enjoy doing. You're going to be doing it for a long time. I remember my dad used to drive me to school in the mornings way back when, many moons ago, and he would say, look, you want to find something that you enjoy doing, because you're going to be doing it for a long time. And if it's something you truly enjoy, it really won't be work after all. So again, don't chase money, chase something you enjoy doing. Second of all, this is just a general principle. Work hard. Show up early, stay late to the office. People notice that. Another thing I can add to that is have a no job too small attitude. you see a lot of times folks come through and just don't put forth the effort or don't want to do the little small jobs that others don't want to do. Do those. I'll give you a perfect example. There was a young man many years ago that worked in the House office in Washington, and he would do anything and everything. Anything he was asked and everything he was asked to do, and even did some more. And he was up there working for free in Washington, trying to get a job. And you know who the first person was to ultimately get the job when one became available was this young man, because again, he was willing to go the extra mile and do the things that others would say were beneath them. So again, go the extra mile and have that no job too small attitude. And stick to your word. I know that's kind of stating the obvious, but sometimes it's tough to stick to your word, but you need to really maintain that principle. And then finally, if you don't know the answer to the question, especially for those of you who enter politics and government, if you don't know the answer to the question, don't be afraid to admit that you don't have an answer. Because it's one thing to sit up there and say something that is not true, and then you're on the record, especially today with smartphones and everything else that exists. You want to make sure, just be honest with folks and just say, look, I don't have the answer to that question, but I can certainly kind of track that down, and because you don't want to go and say something that you don't know. So anyway.
All right. Second question, again, obviously, is we talk about leadership. Sometimes individuals aren't necessarily they wouldn't say that they're involved in leadership positions and govern the kind of community. But from your perspective, how important do you think it is for individuals to be actively engaged? Because we very much encourage active engagement. How important is it for them to be actively engaged in government processes or just civic processes in general? And even though we walked across the stage to hand the microphone, we're going to start from the opposite end this time.
All right, I'll be pretty quick with this. I will tell you, this is my 22nd year in the legislature. I don't have one in 22 years. I haven't had one row, which I think there's about 12 or 13 on a row, on one issue, call my office. Nobody gets involved. They just hope that somebody else will. Nobody gets involved. It's incredulous how impactful you will be if you just make a call. Send. I'm on Twitter. That's why I thought I'd tell you why I got my phone here. I thought I'd do that from here and see how that goes. So, but just send me a text or an email or something. But make it personal. Make it short, quick, and then say who I am and what you got. But be involved, and I will tell you what I guess catapulted me in my local area was I was a baseball coach, a basketball coach, and that's sort of where everybody sort of knew me from was my in the younger days just coaching. And because you show some leadership, you get the bonds, and those of us who coached, those kids will always, I'm always going to be Coach Mike, or I say to some of the girls, because I coach little girls, of course you have to coach your daughter, and most of them are, that's my daughter from my coaching days. So, just make sure, and the guys are right, but do what you love and love what you do. Whatever you're doing, put all 100% in it, and people will notice. So anyway, get involved, because nobody else will.
I'm going to be stating the obvious right here, but voting and civic engagement and political participation is so important. The old saying, you may have heard it, if you don't vote, you can't complain. So obviously, you all know, you're all leaders. You know that voting and civic engagement is so important. But I touched on it a second ago. You're part of that 1% club. You influence your classmates, your friends, and your family. You're that 1% at your high school that's actively involved and engaged. A lot of your classmates may not know about politics. They may not know when to vote, where to vote, what to do. You can be a part to engage them, to get them excited about voting, and to really help the younger generation turn out votes in any particular election. So.
These two guys, and sooner, I can tell you that there were issues in the legislature when I was there that I would get 200 or 300 emails on. So I guess the people in Natchez Parish are a little bit more involved. It is important. You can either work for the type of government you want, or you'll have to accept the type of government that maybe somebody else wants. You just accept what comes your way. I don't think anybody wants that. The key again, be informed, find out what's going on, talk to your friends and neighbors. You know, take part, take control, take ownership.
I'll tell you, like I tell every group that I speak to in the city of Ruston, run for office. Whether it's, if you're interested, get involved and run for office. Whether it's police jury, school board, city council, I encourage people to run for mayor. We only had 2 people run for mayor when I ran, myself and one other guy. I thought it should have been 4 or 5 people, because people should be involved in their community. So get involved in all ways. If you don't want to run for office, great, but get involved in other ways, committees, commissions within your city or your state.
Just to reiterate something that Mr. McNabb said, you guys, are involved. You're getting involved. You're leaders, but so many people just complain and complain and complain about what's wrong with the world, what's wrong with this city, what's wrong with this state, what's wrong with this nation, and they don't do anything about it. You got these stars and people that, they say a lot in the media and they do things, and you ask them, what did you vote? Oh, no, I didn't. I was in Ibiza or wherever, having fun. You guys are on the right path, but also encourage others. There's always something out there. We don't have a problem at the DA's office with people, victims and everyone else. They come and they talk to us and they tell us what they want. So, and it's effective. They're all innocent. So, but definitely, you guys are involved, and encourage others to get involved because your enthusiasm can really spread.
We're going to get repetitions, but just understand that there's ways to get involved that don't necessarily mean being part of government, right? As much as government seems to be omnipresent in the face of our lives, really most of the work of the economy, most of the work of the state, most of the work of the nation is done outside of the halls of government. And there's ways that you can get involved and make change. There's 5 men sitting right over here. I dare say you weren't elected by the populace of you, you're probably elected by your membership into your leadership roles. But these 5 guys are making a difference. They're from the American Legion hosting this organization. That's making a change that's outside our government. There's a guy named Phil Roseman. I don't know how many of you know Phil Roseman up in Shreveport, who has done more to advance education than just about all the formal entities involved that are supposed to advance education. And you could name any number of private citizens that get involved in their local communities. Understand that your sphere of influence, regardless of how small it is, you can have a very significant impact on what happens. So don't necessarily think about government as the solution. Think about people as the solution.
And then for kind of our last general question, before we take a few minutes to ask questions from the audience, one of the things that all of y'all have mentioned in some form or fashion is being involved. And obviously right now we have sitting in front of us 401 of the best and brightest young men in the state of Louisiana. So kind of in your position, be it elected, appointed, however, what do you see, or how do you see ways for young people such as these Boys State citizens to be actively involved, particularly in government, since we are a government education program, but also just in their community in general?
Well, one of the lessons or one of the pieces of advice given you was to be passionate. And you have to be passionate, but also be patient, right? Don't expect to leave this room and be governor of the state of Louisiana, right? Whatever job you have before you at the moment, you seize that opportunity and you pour every ounce of effort that you got into it and you make a difference. The best job that I ever had was when I was a bellhop at a Holiday Inn owned by a guy named John Q. Hammonds. And I poured every ounce of my energy into being the best bellhop possible. Why? Well, because I got paid for it, right? I was making $2.85 an hour, and that was lucrative in those days. But the more effort that I put into it, I could make $100 a day in tips. I was the highest paid person in this hotel. Right? That's an immediate return on that. But because I poured my energy into it, 6 months later, 18-year-old general manager for one of the largest hotel companies in the world. Because this guy wanted passion, he wanted energy. And is being a bellhop that inspiring? No, you get to meet people, you learn how to interact with people, you learn how to have conversations with people. But when you have the job in front of you, you do it with every ounce of strength that you got. By the way, John Q. Hammonds gave me a piece of advice. He said, only work 12 hours. Excuse me, he said, only work half a day, and it doesn't matter which 12 hours. So keep that in mind.
Very good point. And just building off of everything we've been saying up here is, if you, being young, you're going to find different interests and different things that you want to become involved in. And right now, technology and everything else, there's so many different ways to find ways to be involved. We have Citizens Academy in Lincoln Parish trying to start one in Union where people can come, and the judges and the ADAs and different people in law enforcement come and speak, and it's starting to grow. Those sort of things you can participate in. But just get involved in something that you enjoy and that you can serve others in. I think that's something that really drew me to the district attorney's office. Is our district attorney, John Belton, is a great leader, and he's a man of God as well. And that was such an important thing to me and my wife coming from Baton Rouge up to Ruston, is that we are all public servants, and we're serving the people and we're serving God, and you need to make sure that what you're doing is something that you're proud of.
You know, you're young, to go back at your age again, start over, I'd love to, but I'm loving my life the way it is. But I would encourage you to volunteer for what you're passionate about. We have 6 to 8, 9 tech students that volunteer in our office, interns that don't get paid. But they're interested in government, they're interested in what's going on in the city, and they volunteer, and I'm telling you, they get great experience. I don't know how we run the city without them, because they do so many of the things that we don't have people. You know, we can't hire people for every position, but they can come in and do stuff that we need done. So I just encourage you to get involved, whether it's voluntary, civic organizations. I mean, you know, we have Rotary and Kiwanis and all these great clubs, but most of them, the membership is going down because young people are not getting involved in those. So be a part of your community, be a part of your church, be a part of the region that you live in.
I agree with all the points just said. They're excellent points. Volunteerism. If you like to be outdoors, then you know, volunteer in the recreation program, get involved in the gardening, taking care of home maintenance for the elderly or disabled. The civic clubs is another good idea. You know, it's there's so many opportunities for you out there. First and foremost, take care of your academics. When you're a leader in the classroom and a leader in the school, it's a natural transition to life after school. So continue what you're doing. You wouldn't be here if you weren't good students. Support, if you don't want to run for office, fine. Find somebody that you think would be a good leader and support them also. You'd be surprised. I did that a long time, and then finally one day there was an election, and I worked hard with a group of people to find a candidate for a state representative. And out of frustration, I said, well, I'm going to file anyway. There was already one announced candidate, and we need to have at least 2 to have a decent election. So you'd be surprised what can happen if you just put forth the effort.
I kind of, as I'm sitting here, I smile looking out. Most of you aren't even old enough to vote yet. Yet you're already involved in the process, so you're already there. and you're looking forward to the future to continue to build on your resume of civic involvement and leadership. A couple of things that I can think of. Volunteer on a political campaign. If you're interested in government and politics, that is the most fun you'll ever have. I remember the first time I ever got involved in politics, I volunteered on a campaign for a friend of mine who was running for Metro Council in Baton Rouge, and it was the best political experience ever. Dr. Cassidy is also up for re-election in 2020, if any of you want to volunteer. Just kidding. But the other thing is, and as Senator Walsworth will probably talk about it, there's the PAGE program at the state legislature. And I'll take a moment to plug our internships. I see my friend Vic Rushing over here. His sister did an internship in our Baton Rouge office and also one in Washington, D.C. We have, again, like I mentioned earlier, 7 offices throughout the state and Washington, D.C. office. So I'm going to stick around after. I'll have my cards. Let me know when time comes when you get into college and you're ready to go to Washington and do an internship. It's a rewarding experience. I did it in 2002 with my then Congressman Richard Baker from Baton Rouge, and interned in Washington. And you just kind of get bit by the bug. It's so much fun, and I think you'll learn a lot and you'll find it a rewarding experience.
Most of these guys have all said volunteering, and look, that's just a mindset. You go to a grocery store, you see maybe a little lady, a little senior adult, that's what I usually call it. She's struggling with a bag of dog food. Just reach over there, help her out, put it in her basket, and then when she's ready to go, make sure you get it in her. But just a daily mindset to make someone else's life better. It's just a daily mindset. Opening that door for a lady who's struggling with her kids or whatever else that she might be doing, or one of our law enforcement, or someone like that, just saying thank you for what you do. And lastly, and it'll make a difference, just smile and say hello. You will make it, you'll be unbelievable the difference that you'll get to the person that you say may never. I don't know if you know this, we all got these little country stories, but we're all based in the rural. Have you ever been down the road? Because my daughter got this, and you just, when you meet another truck, you go like this, the other guy goes like this, right? You have no idea who that person is. But it's just something that we do in the rural communities is, hey, so do that. It's a daily thing of making someone else's life better, and I guarantee you this, your life will be better too. Thank you.
All right, so we've got about 10 or 12 minutes until we break up into our smaller group sessions where you'll be able to, in your academics, speak to the gentleman whose position correlates with what you're doing here this week. But in that 10 or 12 minutes, what we'd like to do is open up for general questions, kind of about anything about leadership, involvement, maybe a general question about their position, that sort of thing. So if you would like to ask a question of one of these gentlemen here on stage, Senior Counselor Rushing is going to work microphone. He'll run it back to you, so just kind of stand, try to get his attention. He'll bring the microphone to you so that you can ask your question.
I'm Ryan Price. I'm from La Crosse, Louisiana. What have you done in your careers that you are most and least proud of?
The most thing that I'm most disappointed in is I had the opportunity to be an Eagle Scout, missed it by 2 merit badges, and I still today hate that I didn't get those last 2 merit badges.
That's a good question. It's a tough one. I can remember lots of things that I'm not proud of, but I'm not going to share them with you. I remember the defeats, and I forget the successes. In my business, in the consulting engineering world, I tell people that will listen that you're fairly well compensated. You're not the best compensated person in the world, but you can make a decent living. But I rely a lot on what I call psychic income. When I drive down the road and I see homes with clean water because of the water plant we designed, or with power because of the electrical substation my firm designed. My name's not on the substation, it's not on the water plant, but I know I played a part in it. And that's what it really means to me. And so those types of things in my private business, we talked a lot about government, like Henderson said, hey, a lot happens outside of government. That's the way it was meant to be. In government, I would say, in general, I don't want to point to any specific piece of legislation I authored. I authored a few that I thought were really noteworthy and got them through. But I think generally, trying to remember what's best for the state, what's really the mandated obligation of a government body is, and the limits of what you can actually do, and trying to go forward, forming a consensus, realizing you never have complete unity, but you need to always consider all people.
Since we're all friends now, I'll tell you the thing I'm most disappointed in is, I think you mentioned earlier, you got to put 100% into everything. And I do that, except I didn't in marriage at first. I put more time into my job. Job's important, marriage is more important. Okay? First thing, the thing I'm most proud of probably is because when I left college, I really wanted to go into politics. I just, because of Boise State, I really wanted to be in politics. But God was leading me in a different direction, and I went to ministry. That's what youth and recreation ministry, I did that before I got back into the business world and politics. So the high and the low there.
I'm going to have to go with I've done too many things to share with you. But I will say one of the greatest things that I've done, and it's helped me in every facet of my life, is asking my wife to marry me, who is my wife, and is carrying my first child right now. Very important thing is that.
Listen to this part. What I'm most disappointed in is happened twice, 1995 and 1998. Daughter was born at 3:30 in the morning, 1995. Son was born at 2:30 in the morning, 1998. And both mornings I went to work at 5:30. What I'm most proud of is in 2003, third son was born at 1:30 in the afternoon, and I didn't go to work until 10 o'clock a week later. There's nothing more important than family. And as much as you can pour yourself into your work, the work will wait. And you'll miss those opportunities. I will forever cherish that first diaper that I changed on the third one. It also made me grateful for all the ones I didn't change on the first two. But nothing is more important than family. Also, the best thing to
Check. So I'm Jacoby. So which political degrees or degrees in college in general do you gentlemen believe is the best to chase for in college in the political world?
I'll give you a perfect example. I talked earlier, I think I mentioned how I kind of bounced around in college. I like to joke that at LSU, Shaquille O'Neal and I shared one thing in common, and it's not basketball skills, it's a general studies degree. So there's really no set degree that you need to pursue in order to go into politics. In fact, Senator Cassidy talks about it often when he addresses groups like this, young folks who are interested in politics and serving. He says go in and find not only your passion, but find a profession. And I think Senator Walsworth alluded to this earlier. Find a passion, and whether it's being a doctor, an attorney, find something that'll pay a good livelihood for you to raise a family, and then later on pursue political office, because again, like Senator Walsworth said, it's not compensated at times well. So find a really good place of employment, something you want to do, and then whenever the time comes, serve.
Just know this, whatever degree that you get, you want to study that because you're going to study it for at least 4 years. Some of us, it was more than 4 years. But at the end of the day, you want to know how to think critically, solve problems, and communicate effectively. If you go to the right university, those core competencies will be embedded in whether you're going into computer information systems or if you're going to study liberal arts. I was a journalism major, and journalism was great because it teaches you, it forces you to distill information, to write succinctly, to write clearly, and that's a skill that I use absolutely every single day. Right now, we really push STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math. They're absolutely vital to our future, but don't forget to read. In fact, I'm going to give you a reading assignment that 95% of you will ignore. The 5% that don't ignore it will enrich you for the rest of your life. Walk out this door. When you walk out here, walk to the left, you go across this bridge. And at the bottom of the bridge, there's a bust of a guy named Dante Alighieri. Find out what he stood for and read what he wrote. It'll transform your life. You won't do it in regular classes, and probably most of you won't do it anyway because it's really hard reading. Don't read the Italian, read it in English. It makes it a little bit easier. But I promise you it'll transform your life. Pour yourself into your studies, whatever they
Real quickly, back there in the back, it's not a negative if you learn something from it. And that's what I think all of us have tried to do, is whether it's that first wife, I promise you his second wife is getting the benefits of what he learned in his first. You know, so I think we all try to learn from those negatives that we have. So make sure you do that. Second of all, I'm a general studies guy, but I would make sure that you do this. Go into something that you love. If you don't love it, then don't go down that road. But also try to find something. I'll be a dad here and say, son, try to make sure you go into something that's going to pay the bills. And sometimes we wonder whether that. And lastly is, you may not know what you want to do right now. There's people that are in their 40s and 50s that still don't know what they want to do. But try to find out what you love and go into that field if you can. Thanks.
I think we've got time for one last question, just so that we can break up. So I think Vic has passed off the microphone.
Hello, and before I start, I just want to say I'm also a member of the YAF, so represent. And I think I speak for everyone here when I say thank you all for coming and talking to us about all this. I think we really appreciate it. And my question to you all will be that we all do understand that political discussion is very important, and it's very important to have these discussions almost regularly. But is there a point when the oversaturation of politics and everything we do becomes too much?
I'll take a stab at that one. Yes, I don't think there's any doubt about it. In fact, my wife and I have this discussion all the time. She'll say I'm a politician. I'll say, no, I'm not. I'm a public servant. I think that's what we all are. And I'm going to give you my definition of the difference. A politician says what he thinks you want to hear. A public servant does what is best for everyone he is serving. And I think that's the key to it. Yes, I think we're way over politics right now. No doubt about it.
I'm going to tie it back into something we said earlier. Obviously, right now, whether it's in Washington or at the state capitol, it's very polarized. The far left is attacking the far right, and it's not good for government when that happens. We may not, there's 500 of us in this room. We're not all going to agree on everything, but we have to be respectful of the folks, regardless of political opinion. And I think, unfortunately, right now in the political arena, they've lost that. But as you continue to move forward as future leaders, not only in your own communities and state, and hopefully our nation, keep in mind that it's important to keep other folks' viewpoints in mind and try to find some sort of common ground and compromise.
Like Dr. Henderson said earlier, there's so much out there that almost becomes white noise at some point, you know. And you sort of solidify this general idea in your group, and you stay in that group. The group is that group. What you need to do is really find out for yourself and look deeper than just that initial layer. You know, peel the onion, as cheesy as that sounds, but find out for yourself and also be civil. I think that's the main thing.
One of the funny things about politics is hypocrisy. Not with anybody on this table, right, or I'm standing up here, but just watch how your friends react to actions today that are occurring in government. And then track that back 4 years ago, or if you're older, 8 years ago or 12 years ago, to the reactions to the very same types of things. Right? If President Obama took an action, there would be a lot of us that wouldn't like it because it was President Obama's idea. And the very same idea could have come from Ronald Reagan, and we were all 100% gung-ho for it. We begin to get into identity politics rather than getting to the truth. Never stop pursuing the truth. You'll never actually get there, right? But always be pursuing the truth and step away from the D's and the R's. Find what your thesis is and work to pursue that. And no one has it exactly all figured out, but we do know we have the longest standing constitution in the history of the world. So our form of government is not perfect, but it's the best that's ever been created. And it will constantly be that as long as you're involved and you're constantly pursuing the truth. I do think we're in an era where identity politics has kind of started to trump that. And Trump with a word, make Northwestern State great again. That was our philosophy here. But there's always some kind of event that happens that brings us together. It's when we go through times of periods of scarcity or times of catastrophe that you see really what makes America truly great. So just remember that.
When I go to school, I say this, have you ever heard the word politician? And they all have. We're all politicians. Politicians is just sales 101. When your buddy or your girlfriend wants to go see a chick flick and you don't, you do what? Hey, you try to what? Talk them into your side. So we're all politicians. But I think where you're at is, and I think that's what we've sort of heard, is some of the anger and the disrespect. I mean, I think we saw, and I think last week, that some guy up in Nebraska, of all places, said, the only thing I was disappointed about Scalise's shooting was that the guy didn't kill him. I mean, that's just, you're exactly right, awful. And that's sort of where it's some of the talking heads that we've got that is just this inflammatory language and the disrespect that we have to each other. And I think that's what we've got to get back to, is respect for each other's views. And in my office, we do this. I don't care if you call my office and you live in my district at all. my office says, let's see what we can do to help you. Instead of finding a way not to help you, we're going to find a way to help you. We need government to work for the people. It's your government, it's our government, and we need government to work. But I think some of this stuff has really gotten so far out of hands, and a lot of people get paid a lot of money to sit there and say the things that they're saying, which is probably spreading the disrespect that we have for each other. So, thank you.
All right. So as I said earlier, we're going to give you all an opportunity to have a few minutes in your academic areas to speak with these gentlemen more directly. So we're going to dismiss you by academic, led by the SC in charge of your academic.